So we want to just touch on a couple of things and then let you know that we're actually going to be holding a regulatory examination workshop where we're going to go through, I don't have it all written yet, but 5 to 6 hours of pretty detailed how do you get ready for an examination, walk through some of the findings, how would you defend the more significant comments, some of the things that we do to help our clients actually go to the department and work through complex findings on risk transfer and
some of the
like
things that they've been seeing. Now, has anyone in here had a recent exam, undergoing one right now? Yeah. Have you guys noticed anything different, anything new?
Well, one of the questions I have, using this risk-based approach, it seems that they want to interview members of management, including senior managers.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get into the business plans and the business operations aspects of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you draw the line between intrusion into business management versus determination of risk on the part of a company, which should be their appropriate area?
That's a great question. It's a great question. I'm hoping it's more rhetorical than anything else.
I've actually been involved in some conversations lately where the regulators have taken some liberties from my perspective. So we have a model audit rule, but they've come out with draft examination reports where they're finding an organization in conflict with the model audit rule, even though that organization doesn't even fit the criteria for having to have independent board members or whatever it might be. And so what we try to do is get in front of them quickly, have a very professional, intelligent conversation to say this may be a best practice, but that's not what this regulatory report's about. And we certainly take your comments very seriously, but we would like to see them in a best practice letter and not in our regulatory report.
Now, the risk-based approach, what I wanted to talk about on this is what we, as external auditors, this is our approach. This is what we have done for now 3-4 years, I think, is really when it came into play. This risk-based approach, it's less checklist-driven. I know everyone jokes around, they see the regulators in a room just kind of checking off things that they're supposed to do, going through the list. Well, that shouldn't be happening as much anymore. This is supposed to be taking, what they mean by a risk-based approach is focusing, now you're an insurance company. Your risks are your liabilities, and your risks are your investments, your asset, on your asset side. And that's essentially what it's supposed to be doing, is making it more efficient. It's supposed to be taking out some of these, looking at, let's say, accounts receivable for non-policy related accounts. Like, why do I even really care that much about those? It's supposed to be gearing you towards what's the true risk within the company itself. What's the risk based on the industry? What's the risk based on my own experience with that company?
But for small organizations that have smaller finance departments, and those finance departments are already stretched for responsibilities, what we're trying to do is have some conversations as part of the overall audit to help them prepare for their examiners coming in. Be thoughtful about some of the things they're going to talk about. And I suspect, going back to your comment, that they're trying to get in the space of maybe enterprise risk management or something that maybe really is not their space, but it's just something that they want to ask about, or who knows where they're going with some of the questions that they actually ask. But sometimes we find that we can redirect them. So they ask a question, we don't necessarily know what they're getting at, but we shift them to something that we think is more beneficial, and sometimes that actually helps. One of the other things that I have found to be very beneficial in these processes is I have basically 2 case studies. I have an example of a fairly non-complex organization where the examiners came in and stayed 5 months. I have no idea what they were doing, to be honest. But because we didn't know what they were doing, management wasn't checking in with them frequently. They were just paying their bills, providing what they needed, but not pushing them on status. What can I help you with? Do you have any questions? I have another example of a very complex organization where the examiners could have actually been there a year, but because that management team was very proactive, how can we help you, what do you need, constantly kind of, not really in their face, but being very professional about how can I help you do your job the best. Those 2 examinations went wildly. One of the things we'll talk about in this workshop is not really education, but some thought processes that we can give to that finance department about how we see this occur in organizations and things that's worked really well with the examiners, whether it be a tool or a package or something like that, just to make it a lot easier on you. We're not going to escape these, but the goal would be if we could get through them quickly and efficiently and address any of the significant findings with the right level of attention.